Peter, I have a filtration system on my tap water at home, so, you know, I'm always thinking I'm doing the right thing, but you're saying that this is the next step up.
Essentially, what you're doing is very good and very important. Your system is removing particulates, it's removing toxins, it's removing heavy metals, and that's extremely important. There's no question that what you're doing is very good.
But what is it not doing for me?
What it's not doing is it's not alkalizing your water. It's not getting it to an optimal pH, which will optimally alkalize your entire body. And it's not ionizing. It's not breaking the water molecules and the mineral molecules up into their constituent ions, which gives this water free radical reducing potential.
Now, when you talk ions, what do you mean there?
Ions are, you could say, individual atoms. Potassium chloride is two ions, a potassium and a chloride ion that connect together to make potassium chloride molecule. So when you ionize potassium chloride, you've got potassium, and chloride is free ions. And that gives them the ability to do whatever's required. They're not locked into anything. It's kind of like having a lot of money in your checking account that you can just spend however you want.
Which we'd all like.
Which we'd all like, as opposed to having all your money locked up in a CD where it's really not available. And that's, physiologically, we want everything to be like a great big free checking account. Everything is freely available to do whatever's required.
So this system takes all the stuff that we don't want going into our body, throws it away, back down the drain, and gives us the water that we do want in our body.
Exactly, exactly.
So I like that. Now you mentioned pH balance, and we hear a lot about this anymore. So what do we need to do when it comes to our pH balance in our bodies?
By nature, our cells function in the alkaline range. And we want to support that by drinking water which is also alkaline. By function, the way our bodies function is we create a lot of acidic waste. And when we're unhealthy, those wastes can accumulate and create a more acid body, and a more acid body is more likely to degenerate, more likely to get sick, less likely to repair itself, to die sooner, to get sick more frequently. And by drinking water which is even more alkaline than, physiologic pH, you're helping to wash out and neutralize all this acid exhaust.
You're flushing your system.
Exactly, and you're maintaining a healthy, natural alkaline state, which people who do this and drink this water regularly uniformly feel better. There are less aches and pains, less inflammation, less skin eruptions, better menstrual function, etc., etc., etc.
All the things that we want, we so desperately want in our lives.
Exactly.
But how do you test your pH balance? How do you know if your pH balance is okay?
A very simple way to do it is to get pH paper from the drugstore. And with your first morning urine or your saliva or both, you put one drop of urine on the pH paper, and you can just put it up against the key on the box and get an idea of your first morning urine pH. Ideally, it should be 6.5 to 7, which is slightly acid. But that simply reflects the fact that all of your acid waste winds up in your urine. So by nature, your urine should be a little acidic, but close to neutral. The average person, just to give people a frame of reference here, the average person eating the average diet will have a pH in their first morning urine of around 5, which is very acidic.
Right.
And that reflects a lot of acid burden in their tissues.
So the lower the number,
the more acidic.
Perfect.
So we want to get, if your urine is pretty close to neutral, it's a reflection of a more appropriate tissue pH.
So can we get too much of this water into our system?
Yes, you can. There has to be moderation in everything. A unit like this can produce water that has a pH of 10, which is very alkaline. And that is except in very unique situations, not needed and not recommended.
Why not?
Too much alkalinity will, for one thing, create kidney problems, kidney stones, and too much alkalinity will also impair tissue function.
So you want to keep it within that 6 to 7 range?
You want to, that's urine pH. The water you drink should be higher pH than what your cells want, because your cells create acidity as they function, and if you give them a little more alkalinity, it keeps everything right where you want it.
So how do we make sure we're not getting too much of this water in a day?
Well, you can adjust the pH on this, on this particular machine, and I would recommend drinking water with a pH of around 8 to 8.5. Drinking water with a pH of 9 or 10 does not represent an arithmetic increase in alkalinity. That's a logarithmic. So the difference between 9 and 10 is significant.
Okay, so this is a good idea. There's a lot of information on it, but it is something that we should look into because, as you keep mentioning, we're 70% water, so the water we're putting into our body is extremely important.
It's extremely important. 70% of your body is extremely important.
So we're filling a glass here with this wonderful ionized water. We're going to try it, Peter. I mean, this is a really fascinating thing for me because I've always, been trying to get my health up and running. I never really thought about how important water is to us.
Well, 70%, just think in very simple terms, 70% of your body,
That filled it.
roughly 42 liters of fluid is in your body. 42 liters, which is how many gallons? 10 gallons?
No, your math is better than mine.
Right? Maybe a little less. The quality of that is going to have a huge impact on your health. It's the medium through which absolutely every function in your body occurs.
So should I try this?
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, it tastes clean. Does that make sense? When I use that word, it's got a great taste to it. It's smooth. I can actually taste a difference. I really can. I've never tried that water before, so.
Well, it's ionized, and ionization, or breaking it up into these little tiny particles as opposed to clumps, means that it can absorb much more readily. So through your tongue, through the back of your throat, through your esophagus, you're absorbing that water.
Hydrating you.
You're hydrating, and it's getting into the tissues very easily. It's absorbed in the stomach very quickly, so as opposed to drinking a glass of water and feeling kind of uncomfortably bloated for a little while, this will be absorbed. You won't have that feeling with this water.
So you bring this into your system, it's good for you, but you haven't ever had water like this, so you're going to have any side effects?
Yes, potentially you are, and not only with this water, but with the salt, the vibration, the sauna, all of those things are going to promote the release of toxins from your system. Anybody who's suffering from any kind of chronic condition, and in fact most people, even if they feel in relatively good health, living in this world at this particular time, everybody has a toxic burden. There's really no way around that. Doing all of these things is going to promote the release of those toxins. Your body naturally wants to rid itself of these burdens so it can be healthier.
So what are some of the things we might feel?
Well, as those things are coming out of your tissues, and they're coming out of your tissues at a rate faster than what you can get rid of. That's the key. So you may feel fatigued, a little nauseated, headachy, skin eruptions, a variety of other
That
things.
doesn't sound good.
No, it doesn't sound all that great. The good news is that none of those things are harmful because they're a part of a healing process. And the other bit of good news is it doesn't last long. Your body wants to get this over with as quickly as possible. So generally within a day or two, most of it's over, and the payoff then begins. You've sort of run the gauntlet, and people who do this and maintain the hydration and all the other things we've been talking about then begin to feel noticeably better, lighter, easier, less symptomatic, better in all different kinds of ways.
It's just getting to that point.
It's
once you
getting to
switch
that
something
point.
over.
It's sort of like, there's no such thing as a free lunch, right?
No, it's true.
The piper shows up for his payment no matter where you turn, and healing's no different. When you want to heal, it's like you have to pay the price for your sins of old.
And this is a great way too, just looking at this system and you've got your glass of water, because you can fill up bottles with this and, you know, hopefully something that's environmentally friendly and get rid of a lot of the plastics that we're putting into our, you know, environment to begin with.
Yeah, I mean, it's estimated the average person uses about 200 plastic bottles a year. All of that's contributed to a sea of floating plastic in the Pacific Ocean that's roughly the size of Texas. This water will maintain its ionization and its antioxidant activity for about 24 to 48 hours. So you can bottle it yourself or take a bottle to work or so on.
Put a jug in your fridge.
Right, but it's not, you cannot store this indefinitely because all those ions, all those free ions in the water will begin to kind of clump back together. And so its antioxidant activity will be a little less and its pH will begin to fall.
It sounds great.
It is. So the bottom line is if you want this kind of water, you can't buy it in bottles. You can't buy it from somebody else who's made it because you don't know how long it's been stored. If you want this water, and it's really the optimal kind of water, you have to have one of these machines in your home.
It's an investment in your health.
It is.
Cheers, Peter.
Cheers, Linda.